recording and rolling. Wait.
So it is Tuesday, November 24th, which means it's been just about a month since I did the last vlog. Some stuff has happened at my friend's place. We kind of went and set up a studio in one of his rooms. However, I'm going to get to that in a bit. What I want to focus on in this episode is all of the equipment that I've used over the years. Obviously, every video I make, I try and make better than the previous one. Usually I can't always do it as much as I want to, but I always just try and continually improve quality. So, in this episode, I'm going to go over some of the stuff that I've used while traveling to record video and edit and stuff. I started off with a iPhone 4S, which I actually purchased from a seller on eBay in Canada. And I used that while I was I think I used it while I was in Vegas, Toronto, the later 2015 Denver video footage that I have that I don't think I've ever actually used for anything. Chicago, Louisville, Nashville, a bunch of videos that have never gotten published, mainly because it's just random footage. It's not really usable, but I probably will use it at some time. Anyway, when I landed in Tokyo, I was recording with the iPhone 4S, and I used it throughout Kyoto, Osaka, Ho Chi Minh City. I also had another camera, a Samsung, just a little point and shoot. It wasn't that good, so I didn't really use it very much. But when I was in Chang, I was using it a little bit, and it ended up malfunctioning due to the extreme heat that's in Vietnam. So I ended up actually purchasing another one, which also died in Hong Kong, but it lasted me through Nha Trang, Singapore, Johor Bahru, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Siem Reap, Cambodia, Phnom Penh, Cambodia, Bangkok, Thailand, and of course Hong Kong, where it died. And then when I was in Hong Kong, I replaced my iPhone 4S with an iPhone SE, which I also no longer have. The first iPhone SE, I made it all the way back to the US with the iPhone SE, and I left it in my pocket when my jeans went into the wash, so that got washed out. I got it replaced with a newer iPhone SE. That one I had until my second or third week in China, in Yenzhou. No, it was right after New Year's. So it was probably about 4 weeks in. That got stolen by some old guy. My coworker actually called up my phone number, and she said some old guy answered, and she was like, "Hey, of course this was all in Chinese. Hey, where's the phone? Why did you take it? Can you bring it back?" And I guess the guy was just like, "No, F you," and hung up. So I ended up getting what I still have to this day, which is an iPhone 7. While I was in China, this was kind of a last-minute resort. I actually purchased it from a coworker's husband, and I came to find out when I went to replace the battery, because the battery life in this sucks. I went to replace the battery. It turns out that this is actually stolen, I believe, because when I go to look it up, the IMEI number, Apple says that this phone number should not be in public possession. It should, public or private possession, it should be in Apple possession. I think this has it might be a 32 gig drive that's in this. Yeah, so the capacity is only 32 gigs. So shooting video with that is not very reliable. So I ended up getting a Huawei Honor 10 Lite. It has a 128 gig drive built in, and along with the SIM card, it also has another slot for a memory card, and I think it's a 32 gig in that. So 32 gig SIM card, or 32 gig SD micro, 32 gig memory card in here. So I basically use that to store like music and movies, like to watch when I'm in flight. So I shot some video with this, but very, very little. I probably haven't even used it yet. This has been doing most of the recording through, throughout almost all of China, if I'm not mistaken, aside from my videos where I kind of explore on my scooter. This has basically done everything else aside from those videos. It also recorded all the videos in Laos. Also more footage I have yet to use, and Mongolia. And that's where the big thing is for this phone. This phone did all the recording in Mongolia. Anyway, and Hong Kong. I take that back. And Hong Kong. Not the first time I was in Hong Kong, but the following like 5 times I was in Hong Kong. The riot footage and all of that I have was recorded with that phone. And I recently got, right before going to the Philippines, the GoPro Hero 7 Black, which I'm currently recording with. That I used for the underwater shots. And speaking of the Philippines, I also bought this case that comes with a bunch of travel equipment for the GoPro, including a super suit, which is completely fully waterproof. I tested the crap out of this thing. It's actually waterproof, believe it or not. An underwater handle, which obviously, I'm looking at it from my perspective, not the camera's. You kind of put on your wrist, tighten it, lock it into place. Of course, tighter than that, but you get the idea. That way you don't lose your GoPro underwater. Comes with a suction thing, basically a bunch of other stuff, including a helmet attachment, which I attached to my helmet while I was in the Philippines. When it comes to editing, I've had this for quite a while. It's a Lenovo T430, 8 gig RAM. The hard drive that's in it now, I believe, is a 500 gig SSD. But it came with, I think, maybe a 64. And I think it only originally came with 4 gigs of RAM too. So I doubled the RAM, and significant upgrade on the hard drive. However, it has had its fair share of injuries over the years, namely in Hong Kong. I don't know why everything I have, as far as electronics go, break in Hong Kong. Like I fell asleep in the one hotel in Hong Kong one night, and I was watching something. I was watching a movie or something on this, and in a half sleepy, half broken state, I stretched my arm out and I felt something, and I just whacked whatever it was. Turned out it was the laptop. That was probably the hardest hit, which is why it's now wrapped with electrical tape. But this may have seen its last days. It still runs fine. Like, there's nothing functionally wrong with it. It's just not very pleasing to look at. And it is kind of getting old. I think it's on its 8th year. I think it's a 2012 model. So anyway, that is kind of an overview of the stuff that I've used. And of course, unfortunately, I don't have like an actual physical history. I don't still have my iPhone 4S. I don't have my iPhone SE, just because when you travel, stuff happens. Oh well. This was recorded a couple weeks ago, but it's when I went over to my friend Josh's place, who actually went out to Taiwan, and He's been wanting to go to Hong Kong. I've been trying to pull him out to Hong Kong. Of course, right now, with COVID going on, I'm not in China, and yeah, it's not really feasible at the moment. But while I was working with China, I was trying to get him to come out and meet me during one of my trips to Hong Kong, so I could show him around and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, a couple weeks ago, I went over and helped him set up a new studio in his apartment. So I'm going to switch to that video now. So my friend Josh just invited me over to get some recording done. He has a studio set up, and of course, right before I'm about to leave, we start getting this mix of snow and hail. So we finally got everything set up, and this is my GoPro that I've been recording with. This is the Lumix GH5 that my friend has been recording with, and we just got done setting everything up in his home studio, Studio A, and this is how good it looks. And I'm hoping to be able to take advantage of this setup quite often in the future, at least while I'm in the US. And I believe Josh is going to start his video now, and I will put a link in the description below to his video, to his channel, and you can subscribe to him there and watch some of his stuff.
It's been months since I shot a vlog. I've actually been right here and filmed video at this very spot quite a few times this year.